All right. Do you want the link to this thing so we can?
Sure, if you want me to post it, I need it.
I mean, I guess I can post it. I'm already on the Patreon page. Oh shit! No, I'm not. This is all live though, so they get to hear our full process on this one.
Yeah, did you get the sound check?
No, not yet.
See, that's what you need. We need to start doing our sound checks on the video.
Bridge.
A bridge.
We watch a lot of shows with the word "the" at the beginning. There are a lot of shows with the word "the" at the beginning.
Yeah.
"The" is a popular word.
There's this app called Orbit. Hell yeah, I want to get it. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Who gets this video again?
What?
$5? $5 patrons.
$5 is a live video.
Okay. Shoo.
Actually, they're the only people to get these recording videos.
They're the only people who get shit.
They're the golden children of the Bald Move Empire.
And we can say that because they're the only ones who can see
That's
this video.
That's right. Those fucking silver and bronze can just fuck off.
Wow, it's harsh.
They're $1 and their queer is a $3 bill, $3.
Interesting. Patreon has a feature which allows you to share even posts which are marked only for certain patrons in order to see your work and become a patron. That's what they say.
What?
Yeah.
How do they do that?
I don't know. I don't know how it surfaces it, but there's a link at the top.
So the thing that we're wanting to do,
yeah,
we can do.
Yeah, if we want to do it. Okay, let's do.
I tend to not want to do the things I want to do.
We did our mic check. Let's start recording. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Can you get through the outro without fucking up?
The outro? I don't know if I can get all the way to the end.
Intro? None of us can do the outro without fucking up.
No, definitely not. All right, let's start this. Welcome to the Bald Move TV podcast, the official. No, I can't do it.
What?
I said officially official.
Well, but
we are nothing of the sort.
I guess we're kind of.
No, I'm not rolling with that.
Official for all the TV. Who can sue us for that? All the television.
That was a dick punch.
All the television, come at us. We'll Adam Carolla up and roll like that,
and then we'll flip. Yeah.
A legal fund of $57.63. It's coming at you.
Bring it. All right, here we go. Welcome to the Bald Move TV podcast, the officially unofficial podcast for all the TV. I'm Jim.
I'm Aaron.
And we have a lot to talk about. How long has it been since we've done one of these? 2 weeks?
Maybe 2.
Okay. We're not very regular with these things.
Well, eat some fiber, Jim.
I have been in the form of Californication.
Ooh.
I've been eating it with my eyes.
Is that still on or is that?
Yeah. No, I think that's on for another season at least.
What season is it?
There are 7 on Netflix. I watched all of them.
That means nothing. So there's an 8th season coming out soon?
I want to say yes, but I'm not totally certain about that.
Well, we're the officially unofficial. If we were officially official, we would have that information at our fingertips.
We would.
So what about Frank Moody? I've heard a lot about him.
Well, let's start with one of the series that you want to talk about, which is The Bridge.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've got an order to this.
We want to start with the torrential negativity, do we?
Sure. We'll get to some positivity later.
So, The Bridge underwhelmed in the first 3 episodes, which unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your viewpoint, is what you saw with me. And then it got really good. It was suspenseful. It did a lot of interesting things about, putting characters in peril. It had this interesting plot where it turns out the CIA is involved in selling heroin in Central America for some reason, and Daniel, the SLC punk, what's his name? Matthew
Lillard, yeah.
Matthew Lillard character, and Andrea, Jesse Pinkman's girlfriend from Breaking Bad, were poised to blow the lid wide open with Kubiak from Parker Lewis Can't Lose's help.
But I sense a but.
Parker Lewis or Kubiak got killed in this big drug hit this big, I don't know. There's a lot of the mechanics that I kind of lost. And, so Sebastian character, who was the Mexican mogul, who turns out is the real life brother of Marco, who you know as The Bridge. Marco Ruiz. He's it turns out that he was getting pissed at his business partner, Fausto, for causing too many bodies and bringing too much heat and even getting bodies over on the American border. And he's like, you can't do this. You know, we're trying to make more money. And he tries to give him, you know, a historical book. I think it might have been Marcus Aurelius. It might have been Machiavelli, but it's like, you know, you got to be.
He needs a Noah Wiley on his side.
Yeah, you need a you need a velvet glove for the iron fist. And Fausto didn't want to hear anything of it. But at the same time, Fausto is also kind of this feeling that he's at the end of the wall. Like, I've had a really good run. There's this really great scene where he's sitting in his warehouse where he's got this cigar boat and these Bugattis and these airplanes.
What is a cigar boat?
You know, like the Miami Vice boats, the real 45-foot speedboat, but only 3 people can sit on it, but they go super fast. I don't know why they're called cigar boats.
Because maybe everyone smokes cigars on them.
Because they're shaped like a cigar.
Are they?
I think so.
I thought they were pointier.
Maybe they're blunt.
I'm thinking Miami Vice. I'm thinking like pointy.
That's it. It's called a cigar boat. Maybe it's because the Cubans run cigars in them.
Oh, could be.
To get around a blockade.
Too fast for the Coast Guard.
But he's saying, like, you know, when's the last time I've ever taken this boat out? Like, I haven't seen the sunlight forever. These guys are all over me. And Sebastian ends up selling him out. So the Marines, who are like the paramilitary police of Mexico, decide they're going to bring him down. There's also this parallel thing where last year there was this police band of police officers in Chihuahua, Mexico, that were gang raping women and then killing them. And the Stephen Linder character, who is the really bearded, wild-haired crazy guy that kind of talks like this, he helped save her, and they're investigating Marco's boss, Captain Robles. That they're investigating him for this, and the noose is tightening around them. All this comes to a head because all of Fausto's supporters, the captain, Sebastian, even the Mennonite woman, who it turns out was the Run Lola Run girl.
Yeah.
They all turn on him, and he goes to ground. He kills like his own men. He just keeps the one really big fat dude as his like loyal guy. They go off into the mountains in this villa, and they kind of hide out.
Okay. Does he have more than one villa?
I imagine this is like a super secret villa, and only
if I learned anything from 24.
Only Marco knows where he's at, so he offers to take the Marines to him, and it turns out to be a big clusterfuck because Fausto kidnaps Sebastian's daughter, who turns out is a drug abuser. She's like 20 years old. She's pretty hot, but he keeps her and like does a film of like, I'm going to kill your daughter unless you call off the dogs. All that shit's going on. It turns out the CIA is hip deep in this heroin deal. And like one of the CIA people, they're saying he's gone rogue. They're like kind of disavowing him, and he's running around trying to kill people. He almost kills what's her face, Sonia, the autistic blonde woman. Nothing, but it kind of gets interesting. But then, like, I remember in the penultimate episode thinking, wow, there's a lot of stuff to wrap up this season. Like, we don't know what's going on with Sebastian. We don't know what's going on with the CIA guy. Fausto's in the wind. You know, Marco's captured by him at this point. Sonia's been hijacked by the CIA people. Hank got shot up in the big drug hit at this big ranch thing. All this shit is going down, and it turns out they did a terrible job of wrapping it up. Like, really, the only thing I cared about is I wanted to know, with the Run Lola Run, I said that she had like the sloth character, because we see her feeding an acorn to this dude.
Yeah,
turns out that's her father, who is a religious nut job, a Mennonite guy living on this compound in the Southwest, and he sexually abused her. She went to Fausto at some point in her teens and asked for help with the situation, and he kidnapped the guy and turned him into a pet. Like,
okay.
And, you're thinking like, oh, wow, this would be interesting. You got a guy who's like they imply that they took his testicles off and they did a whole bunch of psychological and physical torture, and that they, kept him in a cage and led him around on a chain. But you never really get to see the guy. when you finally get to see it, he's a dude with a long beard and hair, and he's got prescription glasses. That the pet doesn't wear prescription glasses. He's wearing like a dress shirt and flip flops and
so you're saying he
shitty
wasn't
underwear.
slothy enough for you? Like you want a little more sloth in your sloth?
Well, so she finally, because that's the hold that Sebastian had over him, that during the raid of Fausto's place, that he had to leave this guy behind, and Sebastian's dudes got this guy. And that's the only thing she cares about, that she wanted to take care of this guy. So, and the climax of the episode, she takes him across the river back in the United States, I think. No, it is actually in Mexico. It's a plot point. And she chains him up under this big tree that I guess he used to bring her to molest her. And she like dares him to come at her, and he's chained up. Well, of course, the chain is tied to the shittiest underground pipe in the world. And after this emaciated 90-year-old sloth guy with long fingernails and dirty underwear lunges against it 2 or 3 times, he breaks free. And suddenly this guy's choking this woman to death. Who we've seen killed men, women, children. He's completely got the upper hand on it. Sonya shows up and shoots him.
Okay.
Which is a problem because she's not allowed to use her gun on Mexican soil. So she's, they set up this thing where she's going to lose her job. The CIA guy gets killed. He gets silenced by the CIA. So it's implied that the Matthew Lillard story is going to go nowhere.
Wait, the big-headed CIA guy?
No, that's the FBI. You're thinking he's actually FBI.
Yeah,
he got killed a long time ago. This is
he did. Wow.
Yeah, this is a little squirrely guy that you've never. He actually is the father of Nucky on Boardwalk Empire.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. But nothing it kind of ends unsatisfactorily, and they zoom out into space and they show like where Sonya was standing, and they keep zooming out and you see it's like this little bend of the river, and like there again, here's Mexico and here's the United States. And I don't know, man. I don't think it's going to get another season. They're openly talking about canceling it. And I read an interview with Alan Sepinwall where the guy wanted to leave a little bit of stuff more hanging and set up season 3 more, but the studio's like, we're probably going to cancel you. So he tried to hastily draw things to conclusion, but I don't think anything really was concluded. And
okay, that's because I was going to ask you if you think maybe they're setting up for another season for the next season, but they're not going to have a next season.
I don't think they will, and I'm fine after seeing how badly they botched the last 2 seasons, where they set up things really well and then they just couldn't deliver. I think I'm fine with it. I
just don't know why they didn't take the bridge, the concept and setting of the bridge, and make a damn interesting program around the drug war there.
They had this.
The fucking sloth people don't need to
I
be
know.
there. Like that's
just like the serial killer angle. They can't. They gotta fucking nip tuck this shit. Yeah, because it's on FX. I guess they have to have some, child molesting monster, literally monster man who's not that scary. He's literally an old dude in prescription glasses and dirty underwear and flip flops.
I find an interesting, nuanced story about a very pertinent issue much more interesting than some fantastical bullshit.
They could have had
like introspective sort of examination of society and culture.
They could have had a southwestern Tex-Mex version of The Wire, and it would be super interesting.
Yeah,
because like people say Baltimore's a hellhole. No.
Look at Juarez.
Juarez is a fucking hellhole. And lawless place and all that. Although I guess that's kind of like some people from Juarez are like, fuck you people. Our city's not that bad. And some of the big plot lines, like the Girls of Juarez, I guess that's based on a largely fictitious.
We need a Detroit show. That's what we need.
And then across the bridge is Canada and everything's sunshine and maple syrup and moose. That Canada should bridge it up and have Detroit be some fucking RoboCop 2050 mutants running around in Ford Tauruses. That would be pretty funny. But no, I just felt like they
call it the Niagara Divide. There we go.
The characters of Hank, Sonia, Marco, Stephen Linder,
Matthew Lillard,
which and
I don't know which one he is.
All these guys are just so good, and they can't tell a cohesive story with it. And what I really don't get, I'm gonna be down on Sepinwall a lot this episode, I'm afraid.
Probably.
He talked about how mythic the confrontation between Run Lola Run and her Sloth, which I guess a lot of people didn't get the illusion I was making. Sloth is the deformed mutant child of the Fratelli gang from Goonies.
Yeah.
But he's talking about how mythic it was and how it's like an impressive ending. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? This guy's been teased like some kind of, I was expecting like the master from The Strain.
Yep.
This is some old dude in glasses that like I could see as soon as she chained him up to those rickety pipes. Oh, this is going to break. And the fact that he gets the better of her, just no, it's terrible. It was terrible. It was terrible.
That's unfortunate. I'm glad I didn't stick with the bridge.
The other thing is that the whole relationship with Sonia and the brother of the person that killed her sister, that went nowhere. It turns out that he was sitting on the knowledge of, he deeply suspected as a teenager, as a 12-year-old boy, that his brother had killed somebody.
Okay.
But he wasn't sure where and if that happened. And as a man, when he met Sonia and he saw the drawings, he knew, like, he was drawing stuff like a water tower that had like weird symbols. You didn't really understand that looking at it, but he knew where those locations were, and he found the body. And he's like, you know, I kind of knew that he might have killed, and everybody's pissed at him. Why didn't you say something? My sister. It's like, he was 12 fucking years old, man. Like, he's not encyclopedia. I was like, that didn't go anywhere. And then she kind of dismissed him. We never saw him again. You know, her and Hank had a big blowout, but then Hank almost got himself killed. So that was all water under the bridge. I was just super, after them really ratcheting up the tension. The last episode, and to a lesser extent, the last 2 episodes, really screwed the pooch. And you're right not to stick with it.
That's unfortunate. That is unfortunate.
It would have been a really unprecedented hour of negative podcasting had we done the full season.
And this was only 10 minutes of negative podcasting. Unfortunately, I have some negative things to say about the next show we want to talk about.
Is this just going to be the shitty TV podcast?
It might be. It might be the Negacast. What are we talking about in the middle? The Knick? I hope that's not too negative.
Sure. All right. I can say some positive things about the Knick.
But before we get into that, let's talk about Californication. I watched all 974 seasons of this. No, there's 7 seasons, and I looked it up. It is, in fact, 7 was the last season. So sheds new light for me on the ending of that show, which makes it slightly more interesting in retrospect. But I liked season 1 of this show a lot, and I had watched it.
I've heard good things, and I'm a David Duchovny fan.
Season 1 is fucking fantastic.
Can you set up the show for me? Because so here's what I've heard.
Okay.
Because Bill Simmons used to be a big fan.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of women like this guy, even though it sounds like
he's super charismatic.
He's a nymphomaniac, misogynist, asshole who has lots of sex with women, and he doesn't stand for anything. He's got a teenage daughter.
Yeah. So she doesn't start out teenage, but over the 7 years of the show, she goes off to college, and it's a Meadow Soprano sort of thing.
Okay. So what is the plot? I mean, what is this a show about?
So this show is all about Hank Moody's career as a writer in Los Angeles. He wrote a book, which got a lot of notoriety, called God Hates Us All. And he was living in New York at the time, and that was kind of the source of his inspiration for this book, is New York City. And then in order to further his career, he takes his wife and his kid and he moves out to California, to Los Angeles, to, you know, try to make it real big out there. And he writes the shitty, he writes a script for a movie that turns out to be super shitty, and his career kind of takes these jaunts off into things that he's not necessarily proud of. And
do we see this
back? Yeah, we see it through the whole.
So it's like an Eastbound and Down situation. We actually follow his career as he tries to do other series. And
okay. And in season 1 of this thing, it's a very edgy, funny, sexy look at the life of a writer in Hollywood, and the life of someone who is just famous enough to get noticed, but not like, you know, Tom Cruise or anybody.
Like David Duchovny.
Like David Duchovny, pretty much, yeah. Except I think a lot of people recognize David Duchovny. Being
X-Files
a writer
is big, sure.
Yeah, being a writer, not a lot of people recognize his face. But I think maybe more people recognize him than might in the real world, but it's TV.
Okay.
But season 1 is fantastic. It is funny. It is the character himself is haunted by a lot of things that are very interesting. And I loved it. I watched through season 1 about a year ago, and I said, okay, this show is really good. I'll come back to it when I have time. I came back to it. I watched seasons 2 through 7, and seasons 2 through 7 are a different show. Seasons 2 through 7 are weeds with more sex. Like, one of the things that has always been true about Hank Moody is that he is an alcoholic. He drinks constantly. He smokes constantly. He is, what you think of when you think of a gritty writer. A gritty
smokes
author.
Smokes
cigarettes.
Okay.
He also does partake in drugs from time to time, but that's not really his vice. His vice is cigarettes and alcohol and sex.
And sex.
Like lots and lots of sex. There's tons of nudity in this. It's a Showtime show. David Duchovny, who famously is from Red Shoe Diaries, like way back in the day.
Sure.
He is no stranger to the nudity on his shows. So works out for him, I guess.
Sadly, not as much nudity in the X-Files.
No, there's probably none. But yeah, seasons 2 through 7 just devolve into not necessarily cliched characters, but really ridiculous, over-the-top caricatures of people in Hollywood. And he has the friend named Charlie Runkle, who's like his best friend and his agent and his manager.
With a name like Runkle, you can't go wrongle.
Everybody calls him Runkle throughout the series, but he is... If David Duchovny is David Duchovny is nympho light compared to this guy. This guy is off the rails nymphomaniac. Sex is all he thinks about at all times, and it causes his life to devolve into this chaotic mess of bullshit and semen. Like it's horrible.
So it's like a Metallica cover, like a mid-90s Metallica cover.
Pretty much, yeah. But so that kind of takes Hank Moody down with him as well to a degree. But he's just such a character, and his wife, who is
whoa, he's still married?
He's married on and off throughout the series, as is everyone in this series.
Same woman or different women?
Married to only one woman, married on and off though.
Okay.
Yeah, divorce and remarriage and weird shit like that.
Okay.
So it's got Stephen Tobolowsky, who is kind of the foil to Charlie Runkle, and he like steals his wife away, and he is also like, it's just like this show is written by 17-year-olds, because the whole shtick for Stephen Tobolowsky is that he has like a massive dong. and he uses that, and he's super rich and successful, but his world is dominated by his dick.
Do we get a prosthetic dick? Do we ever see
covered by Speedos? It's enormous. It wraps around to his hip, like like it's a cucumber in his pants when they hint at it. So
okay.
I mean, it's funny to a degree, but it's so juvenile.
Sure.
So juvenile, and every single character is like that except for Hank and Karen, who is his lifelong love and ex-wife, and the mother of his daughter. And their relationship is actually kind of good, because he is such a wreck in his life, with the alcoholism and the womanizing and everything, that she can't bring herself to take him back and to be, his companion, I guess. But they're stuck together through this daughter. And that keeps them gravitating around each other. And by the end of the series, I mean, I'm going to spoil the end because I want to talk about it.
Flip off.
In the context of what I thought, when I thought there was maybe a season 8 versus now what I think, it doesn't end in a cliched way. So I kind of, if there was going to be a season 8, I was worried that it was going to be a Friends ending, where it's like, oh God, of course they're going to get together. And like, they've been hinting about this for 8 seasons now. That sort of thing. The way they end this thing is that Hank and Karen like come to an understanding where Karen says, I can't take you back. You're too much of a wreck. But
by the way, I just confirmed that Californication was canceled after season 7. So you are 100% up on it. Okay.
Yeah. But Hank is in a place where he's never going to actually stop loving her. And he says that much to her. And that's kind of where the series leaves him. I think that's pretty interesting. But God, the journey getting from season 1 to season 7's ending doesn't feel satisfying and feels juvenile the entire way through.
Was it funny? like how many laughs per episode were you averaging?
Uh, Probably 0.2 per episode. I
Wow,
like
shockingly
real
low.
good laughs. Like
Okay,
there were some laughs
like
like
some wry observations, like huh.
yeah, and maybe some like eye roll kind of laughs. Like oh
Uh-huh.
god, really they did that? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Like there's a cucumber in Steven Tobolowsky. Sure. But the real, actual, clever or really funny laughs were few and far between, and it just I would watch season 1 for sure because that's a fantastic season. But I
Is
don't
it
know about the
self-contained
rest
or
of it.
is it, could you like watch season 1 and not be tempted to go into season
No,
2?
no, because season 2 continues a storyline that is super important to Hank Moody.
When's the best place? When's the best time to bail? Is a clean bailing point?
That storyline doesn't come to fruition completely until like season 5 because one of the characters involves leaves for a long time on a book tour and then comes back in season 4 or 5. So you'd have to watch the whole thing to really get anything satisfying out of it.
So you're saying the only way to win is not to play?
Pretty much. But if you do want like some great dialogue and some laughs and stuff, watch season 1. You might be tempted to watch season 2, but I'm telling you, it doesn't get any better than season
Go on the
1.
wiki and find out how it ends.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. Anything else with Californication?
No, I think that's it.
So I've kept watching the Knick. Last time I talked, I think I'd seen the first 2, maybe 3 episodes, and I said the thing looked great, had lots of interesting medical gore. It has some decently interesting characters, but I was really bothered by some of the social issues and the fact that's like I don't understand. It doesn't feel edifying to watch this a black man be degraded in the medical industry when it doesn't just seem like there's much of a point to it,
Okay.
So like you have to have some piece of social conscience to go with that to justify the on-screen degradation of a person. I think.
Okay, I probably disagree with that, but
Well, interestingly enough, I don't know they've done a really great job of that. The character, the doctor in question, went ahead and founded a Negro hospital in the basement of the Knick in secret, where he was seeing people.
The underground hospital.
He was buying medical supplies and doing some, taking of the upstairs supplies. But he's like but he's doing a bunch of stuff like. He converted a vacuum sweeper, a very early vacuum sweeper, into a blood suction device. He pioneers a new technique to repair hernias that has, like, the mortality and failure rate of the existing surgical hernia repair was like 50%. This is down to like 0.5%. And that was because the guy wouldn't follow the instructions not to lift heavy things after he did it.
Blew his ass out.
So in one episode, the main character played by Dr. Thackeray, who's played by Clive Owen, is there late at night like he always is. And he basically smokes opium, does Chinese whores, and shoots up cocaine between his toes. That's his life.
Sounds right. Yeah.
He hears some stirrings and goings on down in the basement, and he goes down there and he blows the lid on this operation wide open. And he hates this guy because he's been, I explained how the liberal family that owns the hospital forced him to take this guy on, this black doctor, as his chief resident. And he wants him gone. So he's like frothing at the mouth, like, I got you now. But then he sees the guy's notes, like on this new surgical technique. And Dr. Thackeray is above all a physician. Like he personally sees himself as struggling against death. And he's one of the ones at the forefront of this medical technology where we can now give people, like we live in a world where you go into surgery, you expect to make it out. That's like surgery's the last resort. You're probably going to die.
Yeah.
But it's better than just dying anyway. It's living cadavers. He sees himself as the forefront of that technology. And he sees the guy's blood sucking technique and all that stuff. So he instantly does a 180. And it's like, oh, I see you as my intellectual peer, and now I'm going to have you scrub in and do surgeries with me. The other chief medical resident hates it. He thinks it's terrible. He's got a plot where his child dies of meningitis. There's a lot of interesting historical stuff, like the real life typhoid Mary, whose name was Mary, and she was a cook amongst all the wealthy upper class people in New York City, and getting this particular disease as meningitis, and I forget the typhoid fever was like a immigrant disease.
Okay.
It's something that only the lower class people got, and they kind of bred in by not washing your hands and doing filthy stuff like that. She was a carrier of it. She didn't suffer from the disease, but she carried the virus inside her body, and medical science didn't even know something like that was possible.
Yeah.
So they throw her ass in quarantine. She actually petitions the court to get out, and they get the doctors on the stage like, is this person infected or not? She seems healthy. And they're like, no. And this is like a medically new thing. The judge didn't understand it. She releases it and she continues. But there's like, rich and poor people are dying of this disease in New York City. And there's a whole interesting plot about her, tracking that down. The daughter of the wealthy family that owns, she's kind of the hospital administrator, which is another kind of progressive thing. She falls in love with the black doctor, and they're having right now a secret affair that seems like it's fraught with peril. There's a full-on race riot because one of the plot lines is one of the police officers is rounding up women. Like, he trumps up charges against vulnerable immigrant women and otherwise, and then says he'll take it easy on them if they join this brothel. And he's basically selling them into sexual slavery. So he goes up to this one well-to-do looking black lady and accuses her of prostitution and says, you need to come with me, or it's going to, well, she's not a prostitute. And it seems like they're like maybe from Europe, but this black gentleman steps out and they start in a fight, and the cop tries to nightclub him, and this guy just stabs him to death.
Okay.
So the all-white, all-Irish Catholic police force is now on the lookout for a black man that's stabbing, and they're just basically indiscriminately, the entire white community in New York City is rioting, and they are trying to beat up and hang and otherwise every black person they can get their hands on. The Knick is forced to like take all these black folk in to like shelter them against the will of the administrators. They're repelling crowds, trying to keep them out. They're actually dressing these folks up as cadavers and corpses and moving them, through the street because someone stole their horses for their ambulance.
Wow.
So it's kind of interesting how they're showing a little bit more of the societal's attitudes, and how I guess Dr. Thackeray is kind of operates on a maritime. He's still a virulent racist. It's just that this particular, I kind of felt like, in Django Unchained, where you had Leonardo DiCaprio going on and on about how Django was an exceptional Negro.
Yeah.
It's like that. He's not less of a racist. He's just seeing this guy excel in the situation. Like, oh, you're the one in a million.
Yeah, he thinks it's the exception rather than the rule.
Yeah. So I still don't know about that, but the show continues to be so beautifully shot, and they have these really interesting cameras. Like, a 1 to 2 minute single shot take of a surgery is the norm. And there was one particular jarring one that I'm like, oh shit, they do this all the time. And it's the degree of difficulty pulling that off must be immense, but Steven Soderbergh is so good, you don't even notice it.
Is it like Breaking Bad's cooking montages?
No,
sort of I know it's one shot, but
and it's all very
is that kind of their thing that they do?
Like, you can see the camera work. It's not like steady cam. It's like you can actually see the camera operator like take a side step over and follow people around the wall. It kind of reminds me a lot of ER.
Okay.
It's like turn of the century ER, because they did a lot of that stuff too.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
It continues to be extraordinarily gory. There's really cool medical advances though. Like, we saw the first X-ray like being demonstrated, and there's like stuff that's kind of like in Mad Men where now, like a nurse, the guy's the nurse is like, can you do me, doctor? And he's like, hold this plate. Now let me fire up the magnetron. And you see this fucking radioactive thing, great, glowing green. And they're all just standing around it, like a dozen people. And he's like, now wait for 45 minutes. Like, everyone in this room's being blasted by gamma radiation for 45 minutes. Like, it is burning. You've got breast cancer, and you've got testicle cancer, and you've got lung cancer. So it's like there's some grim moments of humor around that stuff.
Yeah.
But the main thing where Clive Owen, who is like 50 years old, is fucking like a 19-year-old nurse, and he's got her like she's well on the way to being hooked to cocaine. That So the latest plot line is the Spanish-American War is dried up the supply of cocaine in the country, and Dr. Thackeray is having these extensive cocaine withdrawals. And it's interesting because the way they film it, like this whole episode, they just film Clive Owen's sweaty face. And maybe occasionally they'll tear the camera off to look at something he's supposed to be paying attention to. But you get this, like, the fact that he just can't stay concentrated on anything without the cocaine, which is kind of interesting. But I don't know why I'm not really caring about him being addicted to cocaine and him being like, I feel like this is really well-worn material. And the medical stuff is interesting. Like I said, I saw the x-ray being invented. I saw the endoscope being invented. And as far as I can tell, these are kind of like real, grounded in science type of things.
Yeah.
The electrification of New York City is really interesting. The ins and outs of the, I thought I said about that the two most interesting characters are the head ambulance driver who shows up the accident scenes with a baseball bat and beats the other ambulance drivers off.
Yeah.
And a nurse,
mercenary ambulance drivers,
and a nurse that performs abortion. No, not a nurse, a nun that performs abortions, and they continue to be super interesting characters.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's worth watching, but I could see if you're a minority, it would just drive you up the fucking walls. And if you've seen anything like, what was that Nicolas Cage movie about the ambulance driver? It was a Scorsese film about him kind of being addicted to drugs. That's this film. That's this show, I think.
Shit, I can't think of the name of that, but I saw it way back in the day.
It's like something about a heart attack or 1 minute or gone in 60 seconds. That's what it is.
That was it. Yeah.
That's how long you got to revive a heart attack patient.
Sure.
But so again, I like it. It's definitely something I love watching on Friday. I wish MaxGo had a PlayStation 3 client or a smart, because I have to watch. I've got this convoluted thing where I either tape it on my DVR, which my DVR, why don't I tape it on my DVR? I think there's too many other things that are recording and it never does it properly.
Yeah. Is it a Sunday night show?
No, it's Friday.
Oh, well, what the hell do you have recording on Friday?
I don't know. There's a reason why it's the recording stuff is not working. But I try to, so I have to watch it on my laptop and then cast it over Chromecast. And
yeah,
I just much rather have it be on. And I don't understand because HBO, it's the same fucking thing as HBO, literally. It's like, where is the client for it? I don't know. So that's the Knick.
All right, sounds kind of cool.
I think you should. I think you.
I like Clive Owen, so,
and he's really good.
Yeah,
he's really good. I just don't care about his romance with the little nurse. I don't know where that's going. I don't really care about his. I don't care about Dr. Thackeray at all, and he's the star of the show.
Yeah, that's bad.
I really care about the Algernon, the black doctor. He's really awesome. Like he's got the bearing of Prince.
the bearing of Prince.
Yeah, imagine like Prince on stage when he's performing. That's kind of the way he kind of intensely looks at his face. He's kind of got that same facial structure and stature. But he's also like really good at fighting people, and he's got this massive chip on his shoulder because he comes from France, where it's no big deal to be a black doctor, and now he's getting called the N-word and being assaulted in surgical suites and having like people he's trying to save their life. Don't let that darkie work on me,
Jesus,
and be like, "Fuck you, die then, asshole."
Right? Sure.
Here, let me shoot you up with cocaine. Goodbye.
All right. Well, I might wait till season 1 is over.
I don't. The other thing is,
up on that
I don't know what arc they're building to, except for it seems like the big plot is that the Knick is losing money because it stayed in the poor part of New York where all the other hospitals have fled uptown, and the pressure to close the Knick and reopen it in a more affluent part of New York City, and how they're resisting that.
Weird.
Anyway,
weird. Okay.
Something we can both talk about.
Yeah, Homeland.
I
watched the premiere of season 4. So I haven't seen seasons 2 and 3.
I've seen all the seasons. Do you have any because you saw all of season 1? Do you have questions for me?
Baby.
That's Brody's baby. I think that's it looks like they cloned what's his name? Damian Lewis.
I think something like
slapped a vagina on him, and that, I mean, it's a Brody baby. It's a bro baby. A broby. It's a broby.
A broby. Sure.
So yeah, they
Okay, I
conceived
figured that much because she was talking like the father was dead, and I
Right.
knew that Brody checked out last season. So yeah, I guess that.
Okay, good for you.
I think this show is so well made.
Indeed it is.
That opening shot of them just driving through the city in Afghanistan. I don't know what city it was. I can't remember.
Kabul, right?
Yeah, it might have been Kabul. That's a fantastic shot.
Yeah.
And a fantastic series of shots.
Very tense too.
I don't know why they let her get out of that car. Like, if you are a high up official and you just have a whim that I want to go outside right now.
It's only 3 more blocks, ma'am. I just want to get some air. Fuck you.
Yeah,
stay in the car.
Shut your fucking mouth and we'll be there in a minute.
Yeah.
Like, why they subject themselves and her to danger just for the fact that she wants to get out of the car is beyond me.
She's crazy.
And that is the crux of my problem with this show, I think.
Yeah.
The main character, and now the only real main character, other than, I guess, Saul, who is a main character as well.
Well, also, who's the CIA operative? God damn it.
Not the one Corey Stoll played.
No. The guy that had sex with the apartment manager.
I don't know his name.
The large redheaded lady.
The other guy who was in the car with her when Corey Stoll was pulled out. Yeah. That was a fantastic scene. But the only real main character who I feel like I'm supposed to identify here with is a fucking terrible person on all levels. I cannot get behind anything she does. She doesn't take responsibility for anything in her life, including her child, who she actively abandons in this episode and has done so before.
But on the other hand, you know why she's abandoning the child, right?
Because she's crazy.
Yeah,
she's a poor mother.
She's a very damaged person.
That's fine, but she doesn't take responsibility for any of her actions, and it shows in this episode. She's manipulative when she does get called out, and rightfully so. She blames it on other people. She denies it, and then she manipulates her way back into a position of authority. She's crazy.
Yeah, no,
there's that.
She has a clinical. She's like bipolar,
and it is completely outside the realm of possibility, I think, that someone could be so high up in the FBI or CIA or whatever she's in, Homeland Security, I don't know, and be a certified lunatic. I don't know. How do you pass mental screenings for the FBI if you are literally diagnosed with schizophrenia or whatever she has?
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you something in my best Shane.
Okay.
How is she different from Don Draper or Walter White as far as terrible human being scale?
So,
because I feel exactly,
I
and Alan Sepinwall went on a goddamn tear about this season of Homeland for largely the same reasons. I think there's a scene where she almost drowns her baby. In fact, she starts to do it and like snaps out of the fugue state.
Yeah.
And he's like, I just can't get behind this. I can know nothing she does can possibly be worth watching her. And I'm like, how is that anything different than what Walt has done on many occasions in Breaking Bad? And he's compelling and she's just a crazy lunatic. Is this unconscious sexism on our part, or is there a fundamental difference between her being really, really, really good at her job and having all the cards against her superiors, and Don being really, really, really good at his job and having cards against his superiors?
I don't think she's really good at her job. In this episode, she bombs a fucking wedding because she didn't have any intel. Like, well, do we know that he's in there? No, but we think that's his car and it's been spotted at another place, and go ahead and bomb the fucking thing.
Well, but it led to like 30 successful hits. This source that Corey Stoll had, who I thought he did really good work in 1.5 episodes.
Yeah. Definitely.
It was solid. And that was another thing, like the geopolitics I had a hard time with, because when characters were saying, well, you know, he's a known terrorist, he's the most wanted man in the United States, you're at a wedding party, what do you expect? I was kind of like, yeah,
that's faulty reasoning.
Nah, but that's I kind of get behind that. But then when you see it from the other side, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's that's hard to say one way or another when it comes to that region and what to do about it, honestly.
Sure. And that's the purpose of the show. And that's the part where the show doesn't fall on its face.
It does really well.
I think it does a fantastic job of showing both sides of this conflict. Whereas if you take a look at something like 24 is a joke of an American flag waving, trumpet playing asshole.
If it remembers to make a point, it will forget it the next episode.
It will, inevitably. And it'll justify it saying it's all for America. Because fuck everyone else.
Yeah.
Whereas Homeland takes a very nuanced approach to, I love how they juxtapose. Is her name Carrie in the show? What is her name? Carrie. Blowing up this wedding and taking an Ambien and putting on her mask and falling asleep that night with the vision of these people scrambling through the rubble trying to find their lost and dead loved ones.
Sure.
That just is such a stark contrast in feeling and in tone that you get the point. You understand, man, we just push a button over here and it's fucking chaos there. And she deals with really none of the consequence of it.
Sure. And I thought the kid that they got to play he's such a complex character because he's certainly not a terrorist. He's trying to be a doctor in Pakistan. But his uncle is this chief terrorist guy. He sees both sides. Like, he was at the wedding. He survived miraculously the event. He's got a shattered iPhone with video evidence. His friend steals it and posts it.
His sister and his mother died in that attack, by the way.
And he doesn't he's like, look, nothing good will come from publishing this video. And he's the kid from Life of Pi. And he just,
he is?
Yeah. Okay. And he crushes this role.
He does.
And he's torn between these guys, like these political dissidents, like, America's got to pay. We got to post this to YouTube. And now there's some shadowy Islamic fascist movement that's trying to silence him because I guess they're working for his. I don't know exactly what's going on with that, but he is great at being like, and at one point, even the CIA guy's like, they interviewed him. He's not a radical fucking
he's
Islamic fascist. He's reasonable. Like, I can't believe it. Which is kind of social commentary up there as well.
Yeah, sure.
Contrast to Carrie, like, bomb the wedding, YOLO. I also like, though, where she is trying to argue, like, let's just be truthful to the public.
Yeah.
We bombed the wedding. It had the most wanted guy there. Let's not try to cover it up. But everyone's first instinct is, how are we going to spin this? How are we going to spin this? How are we going to spin this? This is a direct result of the way we're waging war over there. We don't want to face it.
Sure. I mean, those are like very nuanced points.
If they knew it was a wedding and there were 40 innocent people there, I'm not convinced that they wouldn't have pulled the trigger.
And that's the thing. By the end of this 2-episode chunk of TV, she's kind of on board with the idea that they deserved it, right? Like, that's just the way we do things, No,
I don't know what board she's on. She's on the I'm Carrie and I need to get away from this baby who I might kill, and I need to get back to what I'm good at doing. And she feels self-destructive in the same way that Brody was, and that she needs to be doing something that might get her killed so she can just die and be free of all this. Yeah, I think she's suicidal.
She might be. I don't know. It's a great show with a character I don't give a shit about at the center of it. That's the problem. I like Saul a lot.
Yeah, Saul's awesome.
And I feel for him.
Beard.
Sure, his beard alone is it makes him awesome. I wish Corey Stoll could have stuck around a little bit more, because goddamn, I like that guy as an actor.
What do you think of this? So the guy's name's Quinn.
Who?
The CIA operative, kind of a wet works guy. He's the one
Carrie's sidekick. Kind of deal.
Then Alan Sepinwall was like apocalyptic, that they were trying to push them as a romantic couple. In just 2 episodes I've seen.
Who? Carrie and him?
Yeah, I don't get that they're romantic at all.
Nope.
Now maybe something gets blown wide open in episode 3 or 4, but
maybe.
And I can see. And I agree with Alan's central complaint, which is they kept, because Damian Lewis and Carrie, who's played by, help me out here, Claire Danes, had such great chemistry in season 1, that instead of this being 2 damaged people that are attracted together and have great chemistry, it became this true love, this doomed love affair, this Romeo and Juliet bullshit. Damian Lewis should have died in season 2 or season 1. Certainly season 2. Thank God he finally got off in season 3. Not that there wasn't interesting things that happened in season 2 or season 3, but it just, that it overstates welcome. And I feel like this now that they've got this, the showrunners got this whole, well, it's the doomed romance, it's the broken people thing. I will be very disappointed if they feel like they have to put Quinn and Carrie together to keep satisfying that segment of the audience, because
that's not what's interesting about this show.
It is not. But I'm not seeing any evidence of that being the case. I mean, Quinn's his own kind of basket case. What did you think of his relationship with the department manager? Did you first there was talk about, speaking of double standards involving sexism, there was talk about the fact that he was arguably raped by the apartment manager.
Super drunk when
he was so drunk he couldn't stand up. They hooked up. On the other hand, it does seem like he was completely consensual in their lovemaking.
Sure, but had he gone back and said, "Oh, she took advantage of me. I didn't consent to that." I mean,
that's problematic. That's why it's like I was saying on a Facebook thread. That's why you don't have drunken hookups with strangers, because you open yourselves up to that kind of thing happening.
Sure, I feel like he gets a little bit of a pass because he's a guy and he always wants to have sex anyway. So
well, but that's what I'm saying. Like if
that's a little bit of a double standard.
If Carrie was in Quinn's position and some big fat dude came in there and had sex with her, I believe the internet would be spending a little bit of time discussing that scene. But because it's a dude,
they definitely would.
That's because it's a dude that can beat the shit out of people. They're not, and I don't know. I mean, I kind of don't have a problem with that, but I can't articulate why.
It is a double standard, absolutely.
But it's kind of the double standard I'm cool with. Like it's like there's guys saying that the Ray Rice seal, where he punched his girlfriend because she came at him and tried to slap him. Well, yeah, don't punch, dude. Don't slap a guy. Don't start a fight you can't win. It's like,
I agree, don't slap a dude.
Like if my kid comes up and is angry and he punches me in the gut, do I just level him?
No.
Like there is some disparity between
the
ability to be I don't know. There is, that's problematic, but maybe I'm that's part of my sexism showing yet again, because I also think I think some of this stuff about Carrie being unlikable is a little bit sexist too.
I don't know, man.
I'm not calling you sexist because I see what you're saying, but it's hard for me to articulate the differences between her and a Thackeray and a Don Draper and a Walter White and a Tony Soprano.
She's crazy. She's literally crazy. But I mean, she's diagnosably, medically treatably crazy.
So that's the thing. Like, if she wasn't bipolar and that wasn't plotline, I would
be looking more into her motivations. Like, why is she doing this? Is it because, like, here it all seems to be blanketed away.
You do realize that the crazy woman is its stereotype of its own.
Yeah, but not typically diagnosable. Right?
What I'm saying is, like, is that a fig leaf on it?
Maybe.
I just wonder. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it's perfect valid to hate Carrie Matheson. She's designed to be hated, but I think
so is Walter White.
Yes.
At the end, but not at the beginning. Like I don't know if that's different. If maybe that
I don't know that Carrie was hateable at the beginning either.
I don't think she was hateable at the beginning. She was definitely crazy at the beginning. I mean, even in season 1, we got into her crazy.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
But she was Sepinwall said that she was treasonous and this and that in season 3. I thought season 3 she was fucking heroic.
I did.
Like one of the big plots was that she went along with a CIA plan where they did a false flag operation where they committed her to a mental institution.
Okay.
As revenge for her leaking something to public for the sole purpose of getting a rogue terrorist organization to try to recruit her as an asset. It turns out she voluntarily went through all this mental and emotional abuse, and it was extensive. All for her country, and you didn't find that out until like 2 or 3 episodes, and I thought it was brilliant. It was really, really brilliant how they handled it, and I feel like that's the kind of stuff you get a fucking silver star, intelligence star for. You don't. That's not treasonous behavior. She was only doing that as a direct, as a deep cover operation.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was really earing.
Yeah, there's a line on those deep cover operations, though, right? Like I was watching a documentary on Hell's Angels. Like you can't kill a dude.
Sure.
And then say, well, I was undercover. What'd you want me to do? I'm trying to get in.
I don't know. And point of fact, I don't know that applies in the CIA.
Maybe not.
Like I've read some Tom Clancy books where shit gets real. And of course it's fiction. You don't know, but I definitely think that there is some other, when you're dealing with terrorist and rogue nation states and people you're at cold wars with, that there's
Sure.
other lines you might be willing to cross or look the other way. I don't know.
Definitely. I didn't see that season, so I can't really comment on it.
Again,
but
that's the show at its best when they're examining that areas. I don't
Yes.
give a shit about Carrie's personal relationships.
she doesn't have very many, and it's hard for them to be honest relationships because she's crazy.
No,
She's
yeah.
crazy. I mean, it seems like her connection with Saul is genuine. That's the one I like, and that's the one that's been through multiple seasons now.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what happened between them from season 1 to season 4, but they've always kind of been, friends, but a little at odds sometimes in their methods and other
Well,
things.
sure, yeah. She's a loose cannon, and he's had to clean up her messes far too many times.
Yes. Yeah.
He's now. Do you notice he's in the public sector now? He's gotten exiled from the CIA.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but he used to be her superior in the CIA.
Sure.
And her report. So
now, interesting, because that's another plot line, is that he made nice with his wife, and they've got reconciled.
But they moved.
Well, because so that is entirely contingent about him getting out of that life.
Okay.
And now it looks like he's putting things in the so it's like, God damn, Saul, God damn. But you can tell he's frustrated because he
has a draw to this life.
He has to sell mercenary services to a government that he doesn't agree with the policy. I thought his line where he's like, we're not fighting a 14-year war. We're fighting a 1-year war 14 times.
Yeah.
And his partner's like, God damn it, let's just make the sale. And he's like, no, I got principles. But like, man, you also promised to not be a dick to your wife and to let her have her professional moment. And I like Saul enough that I'm like, I wish I could sit him down and be like, buddy, do you really want to do this?
Yeah, I think the core of what I don't like about Claire Danes' character, Carrie, is that she doesn't take responsibility. I mean, that's really the core that I don't like.
I'm impressed that they actually committed that, because her sister gets her dead to fucking rights, and she just denies. She Don Draper's the shit out of her.
She does.
Her sister's Betty White, and she's Don Draper.
Yeah, and maybe that's why we like Don Draper, because he's so charismatic.
And Carrie's not.
And Carrie is definitely, she's the opposite. She's off-putting in almost every regard.
Like that one scene where she got blood splashed on her face during the really intense kidnapping of Peter Stahl's analysis character.
Yeah.
And she goes back to the embassy to report to the bosses, and the girl at the desk, who herself is a military woman's like, ma'am, you have blood on your face. And she goes, it's a fascinating performance, because she's just like for 60 seconds cleaning blood off her face. And I kept expecting, it's like, I never saw her cry, because that's like a Carrie trademark. Claire Danes can go toe-to-toe with Andrea on The Walking Dead when it comes to ugly crying.
All right.
But I was like, that performance was amazing, because the whole time I'm like, what is she feeling now? Is she about to cry? Is she
I felt like she was more blank than anybody else.
Like disassociated. Like even Peter Quinn, who's a bad motherfucker.
Who is that?
He's the guy that needed a moment in the car after that raid. He's
sidekick man.
He was, they had this big fight over it, and I was like, wow, is she smarting over that? Is she nervous about the boss? It's just a really interesting performance, and she's very good at it.
Yeah, I felt like a lot of her performance in this couple of episodes was trying not to be affected by it. Like, I don't know if that's what they're actually going for, that she is struggling with this and trying not to act affected, but it came across that way to me.
Are you going to continue to watch the show?
I think I might.
Okay.
Like, I won't go back and watch seasons 2 and 3, because I don't think you need to.
In fact, everyone listening to this, everyone listening to this, you really can start watching now and not miss a beat, because this is a complete reboot of the series.
Okay.
Arguably, it's got, it's kind of like starting to watch Mad Men season 1. You don't know how Betty and them meet. You don't know what the relationship with the kids or is this a story that's happening? Well, this is a brand new kind of fresh start. If you want, you can watch season 1. I guess it's really good.
It is. Yeah. Without the other side of this, if this were all Carrie and Saul and Quinn, I wouldn't be that interested in it. Without the Afghanistan perspective, I think it adds so much nuance to the show that it becomes a way more interesting thing.
The Life of Pi guy, Richard Parker.
Is that his name?
No, Richard Parker's the name of the tiger from Life of Pi.
Haven't seen it.
What's he doing with them? Because he at one point flees his own house and he's got a shit ton of some kind of vials of medicine,
injections.
If he turns out to be a really, really deep cover bad guy,
no,
would you be outraged?
I'd be pretty outraged. Yeah, I
that's
think
a 24 move, right?
Totally.
To have the good, reasonable, scared kid that just wants everybody to get along and he's trying to better himself to be actually a terrorist.
Yeah, I'm hoping that is more along the lines of supplies that he or someone he loves needs to survive. Like these are insulin shot equivalents for either himself or someone he loves.
But those black mask guys came to his apartment and he actually said something like, "There isn't anything here. There's nothing left." But I wasn't sure if they're talking about stuff on a cell phone or that. I mean,
yeah. I'm
very curious about what is going on with that.
Sure, that's the eyebrow raise moment for me in this couple of episodes.
So, all right, well, maybe we can check in a couple weeks, see how we're doing with it. Because I after Seppenwall and to much lesser extent, I thought Dan Feinberg was uncharacteristically trying to defend something against an unwarranted assault by Seppenwall.
Yeah,
I was expecting to really hate this. I was very entertained by the 2 hours and kind of excited about the rest of the season.
Yeah, I don't want to get too down on how much Carrie hampers my enjoyment of the show. I think the show itself is great. I think that character makes it a little more difficult for me to like it.
Yeah, and she's going to do terrible things. They're going to drive you crazy, but I think it's by design, weirdly.
Yeah.
And you know how I feel about
Saul is kind of the balance to that. So
yeah. No, he's an all over good dude.
Yeah.
Did you see his appearance on the Colbert Report?
I didn't.
Where he went on this whole thing because Stephen Colbert asked him about how he'd solve the Middle East crisis, and he went on this like very earnest sounding thing that he was going to, after Homeland was done, run for prime minister of Israel.
What?
And I like
he is an
5 minutes into it, I thought that he was being dead serious, and then it turned out that it was like this, but it was just all off the cuff, unscripted. Mandy Patinkin being a badass.
Awesome.
That culminated in Stephen Colbert climbing onto his lap like a child, and and Mandy looking right in the camera and telling people it would be. He's like, "I want you to tell it's going to be all okay, but in your eyes, I want us to see that you don't quite believe it." And he did it. I want to see if I can find that clip and put it in the show notes because it's an awesome performance and he does a great job.
Nice. All right, I think that's it, right?
Yeah, if you'd like to give us feedback on this or any of the other All the TV podcasts, you can do so at tv@baldmove.com. If you'd like to support us, there's a lot of ways you can do so. Right now, we're leaning hard on patreon.com/baldmove because we want to hit that $500 level. We want to get forums going for you, the people. And we've done a lot of cool things. Like we had our first ever lunch with Jim and Aaron, which is a top dollar thing where we literally we drink some beers and we talk about stuff. We talked a lot about podcasting and technology and independent broadcasting. We're going to be having the Q&A module for Google Hangouts installed on that so people can contribute to it eventually. That didn't go so well today, but we're getting the kinks hammered out. But we're going to be doing a lot of Patreon exclusive bonus features over there, so we're excited about that. You can find all that out at patreon.com/baldmove. Also subbable.com/baldmove. Also, if you want to commission us to do a custom podcast, a custom voice screening, lots of other different custom stuff, might be a nice present for all the bald movers in your life. Christmas is coming up. Check that out at subbable.com/baldmove. Also, we got Amazon.com, our affiliate link at amazon.baldmove.com. You go there, everything you buy, we get teeny tiny cut of. Lots of new stuff on the Bald Move Network. My God. Eric and Jesse and Levi are doing Gotham. If you want to check that out, the Gotham blotter on baldmove.com. Me and Cecily of True Blood fame are doing American Horror Story podcast. The Walking Dead is back. It's coming out this Sunday. We got a big old podcast and Month of the Dead series where you're reviewing. We're playing through Telltale's games. You're reviewing zombie movies. We're doing the instant takes. We're doing the full podcast. I wrote a Walking Dead book. that you can get at book.baldmove.com. It's on Amazon for $2.99.
We got contests going.
We got a contest going.
Tell them about the contest.
Well, it's just 24 hours left. Like if you hear this by Friday afternoon, it's going to be too late. But we're giving away 2 sets of VIP passes to Walker Stalker Con, where we're making an appearance in Atlanta October 16th through the 18th, I think.
17th through the 19th. Absolutely.
There you go. We're going to be there. We're going to be doing a panel on Friday and a meet and greet with people afterwards. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a great way to meet the Walking Dead crew and cast and all your fellow fans, and do a lot of really unique zombie merchandise opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
The way you enter that is you go to patreon.com/baldmove or subbable.com/baldmove and you sign up. Subbable is actually a free sign up. You can, and once you do that, you send an email to watchingdead@baldmove.com and say you want to be. Might want to mark that for an edit.
What was that?
It's me almost blowing my head off with the sneeze. I couldn't get to the mute button fast enough. And I don't think there's a mute button strong enough for it. Aha!
You gonna survive that one?
My whole body got thrown into reverse, going 60 miles an hour down the highway. I need
you shit your pants.
I need a minute, Carrie. I did not shit my pants.
Did you go blind?
I did not go blind. To enter the contest, you got to go to patreon.com/baldmove or subbable.com/baldmove. Subbable.com is a free registration, and then you got to send an email to watchingdead@baldmove.com. I just assume enter everyone on Patreon and Subbable, but it'd suck to give someone these sweet VIP passes that can't even get to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So please, if you think you can get there, go sign up and then go to send an email to watchingdead@baldmove.com.
Or we're going to be doing other contests throughout the month. So go sign up anyway and wait until our other contests.
We'll have a new contest out on Tuesday where we're going to be giving away your choice of Walking Dead. Let's go ahead and your choice of season and your choice of format, DVD and Blu-ray of The Walking Dead. We're going to have a Funko Pop Walking Dead figure. We're going to have, what else?
Your book?
Your choice of Bald Move Walking Dead t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to give away a free copy of the book, and that's going to happen every Tuesday on baldmove.com as well.
Yeah, and that will be from the entire pool of Subbable and Patreon subscribers.
Yeah, it's not just people signing up; it's everybody. So if you're already in there, all you got to, and you will be entered automatically.
No email required.
Yep.
For the VIP passes, you got to send the email though.
Yeah,
you got to be able to go to Atlanta.
Yep. And that's it. That's if you can always go to support.baldmove.com to find out all the ways you can support us. We appreciate all of the hard work and the people that share stuff, the people that rate and reviews on iTunes, the people that give us money. You're the real heroes. You're the ones that let us do what we do and eke out a living at it. So thank you very much.
All right.
We'll be back in a week or two for another installment of the Bald Move. We actually have a new feature, calendar.baldmove.com, where you can see all of our release schedule. If you want to know when we're live broadcasting those Let's Plays, if you want to know when we're doing broadcasts of Instant Cast, you want to know when we're doing a Bald Move TV, check out calendar.baldmove.com for all the latest.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll be back a couple weeks, 1 week, who knows. But until then, I'm Jim.
I'm Aaron. See ya.